On record. Well, welcome everyone. I am just so happy to see all of you, all these faces here today. And it's just my honor to welcome all of you. My name is Yas Hardaway and I'm with GSCP Career Services. And I'm among many individuals here who help make this event happen. So our career services team, our teacher preparation team, just thanks to all of you for collaborating on this event today to be able to connect our students with opportunities and help them expand their network. So this is our Meet the Schools K-12 virtual event. It's our first time using this format. So we'll go through just so everybody knows what to expect. But I'll just start with the agenda. So we're going to kick it off with a K-12 administrators panel. So we have invited principal superintendents here from our network to help provide some information, some support, some guidance to our teacher candidates as they make this transition. And this will be facilitated by Dr. Garcia Ramos. Then we will transition to our first breakout room. So candidates, you will have the opportunity to select which breakout room that you go into, and we'll have the names of the schools labeled for each of the breakout rooms. So I'll show you in a moment what that will look like. And then we'll come back and take a break since we'll have been in the panel, have been in the first breakout. We'll come back and take a break, and then we'll move into our second followed by our third breakout room. So in these breakout room discussions, you'll have an opportunity to learn about each respective school or district's recruitment process, hiring timelines, application strategies, and then any questions you have regarding the package, including induction, benefits, salary, and professional development. Then we'll all come back together at about 5 till 7 for closing, and we'll invite our candidates to complete a brief evaluation just so that we can get a sense of what this experience was like for you and how we can continue to improve it for the future. So without further ado, I will transition to Dr. Garcia Ramos, who will facilitate our K-12 administrator panel. And I'll go ahead and put the names of our panelists in the chat so you all will know who's here. So Dr. JR, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much to Career Services for helping us continuously partner with us, number one, but number two, continuously showcase how our candidates can move through the MAT program and have opportunities like this, even during the time of pandemic. So this is much more fun, folks, when we get an opportunity to see each other in person, when we get opportunities for refreshment, to shake hands, but given the times that we've been experiencing, we're doing the best that we can, and tonight is no exception. You are going to get an opportunity to meet with some great individuals in each of the breakout rooms. And for us to get started this evening, we are going to have a panel, and this is an opportunity for you to hear about their thoughts about what you can do as a candidate in terms of how to prepare for the experience. So we have with us this evening Jose Miguel Cubes, Director of Education from Delhi Unified School District, Dr. Kip Glazer from Santa Barbara Unified School District, Michael Nemiroff, Talent Acquisition from LAUSD, Kwok Tran, Superintendent from Culver City Unified, and Suzanne Webb, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources from Manhattan Beach. So thank you so much for all of you being here. We appreciate your participation. I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask all of you. But before we do that, I think it's probably really helpful if you just tell us briefly about your professional background and current role as a K-12 administrator. And I have a feeling that it started in the classroom as a teacher, and that's what our candidates want to hear. So we'll start, and I will go in the way that I see the tiles on my screen. So we'll start with Jose, and then move to Kip, then Michael, LAUSD, then Suzanne, and then Kwok. Okay, Jose.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the time. Jose Miguel Cubes. I'm currently the Director of Education Services at Delhi Unified. I'm also the incoming superintendent, so I'll officially start my superintendency in July. I started teaching in LAUSD. I was very fortunate to be able to teach at Manual Arts High School, which is the school that I graduated from. And after teaching there, I was able to be blessed enough to be an administrator at the same school. After a year of administration there, I moved over to Green Dot as an assistant principal. And then from there, I moved on to be a principal at a middle school in Echo Park with a small charter organization. And after that, I was a principal at Alliance Charter Public Schools before coming over here to Delhi in the Central Valley. So I've had a very, very blessed journey. And I'm glad to see that there's a quite amount of people here that we need great teachers to start the pipeline. So I'm very, very enthusiastic about seeing that.
Thank you. Dr. Glazer.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, Kip Glazer, principal at San Marcos High School. I started my teaching career in Santa Maria Joint Union High School District, and then I moved to Bakersfield, and I was there for about 13 years. During that time, I got my doctorate in learning technologies from Pepperdine University. And then from that, I became the district-wide technology coach for 1 year at Kern High School District, same district that I was a teacher for a long time. And just before that, I actually won County Teacher of the Year. That's why I got out. I was like, I was done. I did what I needed to do as a teacher. Now I got to go do something else because you can't really top that in my mind anyway. And then I became a dean of students in the same district. And then I had an opportunity to be an assistant principal at La Cañada Unified down in near Pasadena area. So I was there for 2 years. And then I saw an opportunity in Santa Barbara. And I didn't even think that I was going to be the principal, but I just put in my name and thinking I'm just going to go get an interview. And I remember getting a call from the superintendent saying, you got the job. And I had like, oh no moment, but I've been here for 3 years. Little that I knew at the time when I said yes, I was going to be #pandemic principal for 2 years. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm happy to support our fellow waivers. Go Waves. Thank you for being and having me here.
Michael.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Nemiroff, and I work as a talent acquisition specialist for the Los Angeles Unified School District. And I am going to be completing my 17th year in the district. This is where I started my career. I started my student teaching here, and I haven't been elsewhere. I was in the classroom for 13 years, and this is just past my 4th year in this role. I am a multiple subject credentialed teacher, and I never had ambitions to go into administration. I went back to school to get my admin credentials because I wanted to move up on the pay scale and learn more and continue my education. But an opportunity presented itself to work in recruitment. And I absolutely love doing what I do now and having the opportunity to speak about the districts and the opportunities that await all of you as you begin your career. I'm excited to get to know you, to speak with you, and you are all on your way for a wonderful journey. And I look forward to getting to know you and speaking with you further. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Dr. Webb.
Hi, everyone. My name is Suzanne Webb, and I started teaching 28 years ago in Beverly Hills Unified School District, taught math. And after Beverly Hills, I moved to Santa Monica, Malibu, where I began as a math teacher, went to educational services to help with professional development and teacher induction, then became an assistant principal for Malibu High School, and then principal of Lincoln Middle School, all in Santa Monica, Malibu. And then with the great help of Yaz, I moved on to my passion, which is human resources, and became director of human resources in Santa Monica, Malibu. And then similar to Dr. Glazer, I was hired in Manhattan Beach in December of 2019 to be, my first job as an assistant superintendent. And then 3 months later, I became the COVID compliance it's wonderful to see everybody here and to know that we still have folks who want to be teachers. So welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thanks so much. I love all the connections. And is it Dr. Tran? Oh, I don't think we have sound. Oh, maybe volume?
How about now?
Oh, perfect.
Awesome. My name is Kwok Tran. I am currently serving as the superintendent of Culver City Unified School District. We're right next to Beverly Hills, but on a good day, Beverly Hills will recognize us. We're sort of a little brother, right below Beverly Hills to the other side of Santa Monica, Malibu, and right above Inglewood, and our big brother on the other side, LA Unified School District. This is my 7th month in the position of superintendent. And prior to that, I served as associate superintendent in educational services for a couple of districts in Monterey County area. Beautiful Monterey County. I live in a small place right next to Carmel, between Carmel and Monterey Ocean, Monterey Bay. It's an amazing place. But prior to that Monterey assignment, I was serving in San Gabriel Unified School District as directors of education, and I was also serving as directors of educational program, English learners, assessment, compensatory program, all kinds of stuff with Alhambra next door to San Gabriel. And I don't know what possessed me. I took a 3-year off to the desert, Palm Spring Unified, 24,000 K-12 students out there. And I think the desert was a little bit too much for me. I went back, and before that, I was a site administrator. I was a math and science teachers at the high school. I was 4th and 5th grade teachers. And believe it or not, I was a 5-year engineer in electrical engineering, earning my degree from Cal State LA. And before that, I served as a bilingual instruction aide, how I earned my spending money going to college. And before that, I was a refugee child out of the refugee camp in Malaysia after crossing that ocean from Vietnam to Malaysia illegally. This is part of the boat people history so many years ago. I speak fluently in 2 languages, I think, Vietnamese and English. And on a good day, I can cuss in 5 languages. So there you go. And here I am.
All right.
you.
Thank you so much for those introductions. So just for the candidates, remember that we all started off as teachers in the classroom. All right, here's the first question for you all, and I'll reverse the order in terms of answering the question at this point. 2 pieces of advice that you would give one of our teacher candidates today about how to position themselves for success during the recruitment hiring process. So we'll start with you, Dr. Tran.
You talk to yourself quite a bit prior to imagine you're sitting in front of a recruiter. A philosophical stand, a moral stand. Honestly, we've all gone through trainings and we've all had credentialing programs. It is a heart and soul of who you are as you're sitting in front of a recruiter. We have to know your knowledge. We have to know that you are informed, but we have to believe that you can inspire students. There's a major shift when I'm speaking to a candidate from an assistant superintendent position and above. The information people own is massive, but the moment that information become inspiration, that is the Velcro point. So that's number 1. Find your soul. How does that apply to the job day to day? And number 2, be prepared yourself, knowing that each day as you coming in to a position, no matter what that position is, it has a potential to break your heart, and it also has amazing power to heal you. And just remember that it takes a huge amount of heart and soul into it, and be prepared on the day that things are not going well. Look for tomorrow. I'll stop here and then turn over to my next colleague.
Okay, thank you. I assume I'm next, Dr. GR. Okay, good. So positioning yourselves for success in the recruitment hiring process, I think we're going to get a lot of great advice. One thing I think it's important to focus on is getting to know the districts to which you are applying. really getting to know, do your homework, do your research, what kind of curriculum programs, what is their focus? Is it restorative practices? Do they use cognitive guided instruction? Really get to know that. And especially if you have a multiple subject credential, a lot of people do, that's how you make your connection when you do meet with a recruiter or the principal to interview for a position. Really show that you've done your homework, more than just, oh, I've always wanted to live in Manhattan Beach, or whatever it is. And then the other thing about going into an interview, be ready to show your stuff. Be ready to demonstrate a lesson. They may or may not ask you to, but just be ready for it. Show us what you got. And I'm passing it to Michael.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I was telling my kids to be quiet for like 30 seconds. Okay, so sorry if you hear any crying or yelling in the background. You know why. 2 pieces of advice. You are all going through a program and learning a tremendous amount of information and a lot of theories and philosophies. You got to be able to connect with the ones that you align with and find. Let me backtrack. There's nothing worse than when I meet somebody and they talk about something. So I'm going to go off of like what Suzanne said, and they say CGI and then they can't speak to it. Okay. So know what it is that you're passionate about and be able to speak to it. I'm a big fan of learning from your mistakes. As first and second and third and maybe 10th year teachers, you're going to make a lot of mistakes and errors. And those are wonderful learning opportunities and good opportunities for you to really learn from non-examples. So be able to speak to that. And I really want to emphasize, when you interview, find your passion. So, for instance, my passion is inclusion in schooling. What have you learned about it? What do you want to do? How are you going to implement that at your school site and be able to speak to it? When you meet with a recruiter or you meet with a school district and it's not aligning with what you believe in, I encourage you to interview elsewhere, whether it be LA Unified or anywhere else, because, it's your passion and you want that to come across, and you don't want to be in a situation when you're not happy on a daily basis. So find your passion and be able to speak to that. And then also non-examples are great opportunities to learn from mistakes and how to move forward.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Glazer.
So I don't think I said what I taught. I taught English for a long time. And I came from South Korea when I was 23 years old, and I did not speak English when I first got here. To go from that to teach English was a challenge, also very humbling experience. I used to pinch myself or tell my students, like, come on, you've been speaking English longer than I've been teaching, so I always try to be authentic. If I thought that I was not up to par for my standard for working with our students, I would be very honest and authentic and be myself with the kids, especially for high school kids, because the hypocrisy is number one thing that they'll just sniff out. So that's number one advice. Just be you, because number two is teaching job is really, really hard. And you just have to find the right fit. As an administrator, I had to counsel some people out of the site to a different site or out of the profession. And that just breaks our heart, because we know how we want so many great people in this profession. But what you really need to think about is, just because you didn't get a job or didn't have a great experience, the question is, was it a right fit? And if you really are passionate about teaching, you will find the right fit. So that having that mindset and also seeking advice would be super important.
Great, thank you. Dr. Kubis.
Yeah, and it's not doctor yet. I'm still a doctorate student. I know they had written that on there. So I've been called worse in my life, though. So, but for starters, you know what? When I'm interviewing teachers, the first thing that I look for is, do they understand the work? The fact is that teaching is hard as hell. It is extremely, extremely difficult. And if you're going to go into this profession, you just need to understand that you're actually looking to deal with the human condition and to impact the human condition. So you have to make sure that you understand the community, understand underserved communities. As students right now, you've got access to database of dissertations and research. I would say start getting some of those. Look up a dissertation on underserved communities. Start to learn from that, because that will empower you to be prepared. I have worked with individuals also that they had to realize teaching wasn't for them, right? They thought teaching would be this perfect thing where all the resources would be there and that it would be just perfect. And the fact is that if you choose to be a teacher, you're choosing to be the change. So you've got to understand the work. The second piece is you want to know content and planning. It is important to have a love for learning. I've hired some new teachers this year, and the teachers that are being very successful are very curious about rigor and learning. Sometimes we can fall in the pitfall of, oh, this looked great and my kids are learning, but you're really facilitating hokey hope. What we want to make sure is understanding the granular aspect of what true deep level thinking, deep level learning looks like, and you have to find a love for that. The planning piece, yes, candidates that have always done well, they bring lesson plans to the table, they bring video recordings of themselves. If you're ever doing any student teaching and you have chance and an opportunity in a classroom, having a video showcasing yourself is great. And I know some of you might be thinking, but I'm really new and I do have a video and it was weak. That's okay. Now you've got some action steps so you can reteach that and get better at it. And the last piece that I'll say is I always tell this to my candidates. They're interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing them. Yes, teaching is hard as hell. It's going to take a lot of work, but you know, it is a very, right now we need teachers. So make sure that you ask questions at the end. And what I would say as advice on that is sit today and ask yourself, what are the 3 things that I need from my school to be at my optimal best? List those down and then build questions around that. I've met some teachers that love collaboration, that they need that. And when I ask them that question, what are the 3 things you need from me to be your most optimal best? You really start learning and look for those responses, because you know, it is about fit. You may be finding the place that isn't right for you. So be inspired, be ready, you know, go home, tell your family, your loved ones, you're stepping into one of the greatest careers ever. So you deserve to be pampered at home. But the fact is you got to be ready for it, because we need you to change the lives of kids, and changing the lives of kids like myself. I was a English language learner, single parent home, raised in South Central LA during the peak of the crack epidemic. And I don't remember my principals. I don't remember my superintendents. I remember those teachers, the teachers that taught me how to shave, that taught me how to analyze and how to think. So just have that ready so you can be, you know, make that change in the lives of youth.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, Jose. And so we're going to start with you, because the next question is about eventually our candidates are going to be new teachers in the field. So what is one positive thing that comes to mind when new teachers are in the field that impresses you when they're in their first year of teaching?
You know, the one thing that I see is when they start really experiencing the whole community in the classroom. I can think of right now, and I'll say her name because she's a future master teacher, Teresa Singh. She's a brand new 6th grade teacher at my school. And, you know, she's set up a comfortable, not a comfortable, but a comforting, safe environment for learning. But she is so curious about the rigor. So one thing that I see is looking at those wins, understanding that sometimes you're going to hit your head on the wall. It's going to be difficult, but being really prepared to know that it's not all going to happen overnight. But when you get that evidence of learning, you know, like analyzing the student work, the data, and really enjoying that, those little increments, that goes a long way.
Thank you, Dr. Glazer.
I have to feel that my teachers like kids more than their content. In a secondary setting, so many of our people, they love the subject, but they don't get that you're not really teaching the subject. You're shaping future humans, future adults. You have to like those age group and those kids, because I really believe that I can teach the skills and content. I can give a professional development, how to use whatever the tool is, but I really have a hard time convincing that this is a job that kids have to really like you, and they like you when they know that you like them. So that's really, really, really important. And two, that the curiosity that, like, as I'm coaching my new teachers about different strategies, have you thought about this? And being humble. Like, a lot of our young teachers, sometimes they got the fancy degree. I have one too. I'm just kidding. But like, so they think I'm ready. And I'm like, you got to be curious and humble to listen to the experienced teachers who are telling you without really telling you. And that the big ears, really, that active listening, that's what I look for.
Thank you. Michael.
Yeah, I just want to build off of that, Dr. Glazer. I agree that you want to listen probably 10 times as much as you speak. It's going to be a lifelong learning profession. Always be open to learning and growing. Even if you have one amazing lesson one day and you spend 2-3 hours lesson planning for a lesson over the weekend, and the next day something may just go wrong and it doesn't work out and you have no idea why, and you practice it maybe on your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your parents or your neighbor's kids, and you're going to go into class the next day and maybe there was a fight at lunch, or maybe it's too hot. Some days that are really hot and the kids come to the classroom and they're tired, or maybe they're exhausted from state testing and they're just not going to be receptive. Just know that tomorrow, I always used to tell my students that they stress me out. Just know that the sun will rise tomorrow and that you can work on it tomorrow. I think that somebody who listens twice as much as they speak, somebody who's open and a team player, is probably the biggest successes that I see in new teachers. Yes, you are all coming out of fresh out of school with all the new theories and philosophies and learning, and you are on the cusp of all the new learning that is out there. And that 60-year-old teacher may have some things to share with you as well. So just listen.
I feel like oops, sorry. Is it my
Right on
turn?
cue. Go ahead, Suzanne.
I'm too excited. I'm too excited. I feel like Jose, Kip, and Michael all looked at my notes. So I'm going to ditto what they just said. I did my doctorate on resiliency. And I did it mainly for principals, but it applies to everything. And I think we all heard today that it's hard. It's hard. So you go in and it's hard, but you show up every day. So don't take it personal. When I was a middle school principal, I could easily tell my staff, listen, the kids are a hot mess. We need to keep it together. Allow them to be who they are, and every day is a new day. Building that relational capacity, not just with your students and finding out what engages them, but with your colleagues, network. Go and ask people, can I watch you teach during your lesson? The best professional development is watching somebody else teach. And making sure you don't give everything, every blood, sweat, and tear you have in your body that first year. You have to have a balance. You have to have something that you're doing for yourself, because if you don't put that oxygen mask on first, you can't help anybody else around you. And there's a great program called Capturing Kids' Hearts. Maybe a lot of you have heard of it, maybe not. It's by Flip Flippin', and it's all about engaging kids the moment they step into your classroom. But really quickly, I have an amazing first-year teacher. She's a choral teacher. We have a dying program in both our middle and our high school, and she's an intern. She came in and she got to know her students, got to know what they were passionate about, and she has started a whole program on or an awareness, I should say, of gender roles in music. Females are always the altos and sopranos, and men are the baritones and tenors, and she's switching it up, and she's making a difference and really engaging her kids. So you can do it. Come on over.
So thank you so much. It's I guess I've traversed through all the steps and columns of my entire journey from the bilingual instruction aid, and similar to Jose, I came to this country at the age of 18. I spoke zero English, a little bit of French, and a lot of Vietnamese. Obviously, I am from Vietnam. But you know, there is a starting point. And allow me to say it. I'm gonna offer the same thing, but with a bit of emphasis. Dr. Glazer mentioned curiosity. May I put that forth as an unending, crazy commitment to always be curious, because it takes away the fear. It takes away the uncertainty. Just the career of teaching is full of surprises, uncertainty, because we're dealing with 25 human beings. If you're teaching kindergarten, those 25 could be like 500. Every day you come into that minefield. You never knew teaching is like until you get bitten by kindergarten students and refuse to let go. And you don't know what to do with it. So they just grab you by the low leg and chew on your leg. So, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this? Be that as it may, item number 2, students would do work for you. They will go to the extra mile, not because of their well-trained civic duties. They do that because they like you. And they would do more to please you if they actually love you. So the unending opportunities that is available every day to get to know your students. The best phrase I've learned ever is tell me a little bit about yourself. And even at my level right now, and I'm doing this, and I'm holding an old beat up notebook, and I feel like about 10, 12 of these every year. And I constantly sit down, and when I remember teaching, I would write around and say, hey, is that a new pair of shoes I'm seeing here? And then, you know what, 10 days later, I would make the point to go to that student and said, what happened to that new shoe, that fancy stuff you were wearing the other day? It's all creating both authentic connection, as well as the perception that nothing about the children is unimportant to you. You really want to know them. Tell me a little bit about yourself. The third item as a new teacher is that I allow we call it the 10 minutes of crying your heart out. Sometimes, at the end of fourth period, I was physically exhausted teaching high school. And I'm thinking, can I do this? Can I just walk out of here, get into my car, drive home? And I sat down and looking at my sandwich, and I'm thinking, I don't even want to eat. I'm tired. I'm just drained. And I have to say to myself, there's 2 more periods coming up, and there's after school tutoring. So I set the rule, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes. And I ask you to really do this seriously. 10 minutes and find everything you hate about anything. Boyfriend, girlfriend, car, the last novella didn't turn out the way you expected it to be. But stop at minute 10 and said, I'm ready. Shoot, wolf down that sandwich, drink your Coke can in one gulp, and then be ready. Because by doing that, I believe I learned to have a sense of humor in everything that is coming my way. Have an unending sense of curiosity. Get to know your students in the way that you aim for that relationship. They do things, they go over mountains and rivers and valley for you if they love you. They will not do that to please their parents for long. They will not do that because of some kind of a innate ability. No, they do that because they love you. And what a privilege that is. I still miss that to this day. But on the other hand, when things are going bad, put a limit to it. A 10-minute is my years of survival skill. Even at this level, sometimes I would say to my secretary, the last phone calls kind of took me by surprise. So let me close the door and don't come knocking until 10 minutes gone by. And 10 minutes later, I'm ready to go. So even at this level, give yourself a bit of grace, a little bit of time, a little bit distant, and a deep sense of humility. It's a fabulous, fabulous career to go into. And by the way, just an observation, it is hard, but may I confess to you, public education was never easy, ever. I don't think there was a time where we just walk in and say, hallelujah, everyone's ready to read and learn and bring apples and bananas to school every day. Nope, it's always hard. It's always hard. And just when you think you got it, your principal changed your assignment next year, and there you go. You're in a brand new setting. So have a ball.
Wow. Thank you so much for all of the advice, your insights, for sharing your journey into education. That has been invaluable, and everybody's going to walk away with some new thoughts about the career they have chosen. So I want to thank Jose Miguel. I want to thank Dr. Glazer. Michael, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Tran and Dr. Webb. Appreciate all your thoughts, your insights, and I know it's been valuable for our candidates. candidates this afternoon. I am going to pass it back to Yas, who will now move us into our breakout rooms.
Thank you so much, Dr. GR. And I just want to echo your sentiments. I'm so inspired to hear each of you speak, and also just so reassured to know that educational leaders like you are out there impacting our communities. So thank you. So we're going to transition now to our breakout portion. So let me provide just a little bit of context and some guidance. So these are the list of schools or districts that will be in the breakouts, and you'll have an opportunity to go to 3 different breakouts. So we'll have one breakout now, as I mentioned earlier, take a 10-minute break, and then have the second and third breakout. So what if you haven't chosen your own breakout room before, you'll see an opportunity to do that. Once Franya opens the breakout rooms in a few minutes. So let me show you. You'll see the list of the 12 rooms and the corresponding schools, and then you can just click on join to be entered into that particular room. So I will also mention that although you'll have 3 opportunities to go into breakouts, that you may find that you want to hop into another room midway, just in case there was a 4th or 5th school or district that you wanted to be able to hear from, and that's fine too. We probably just would discourage you from going into like 10 different rooms within one breakout. But if there are more than 3, then we certainly welcome you to go to the schools or districts that you want to hear from. And then for the employers, I did ask you to put your name and your school affiliation using the rename tool. If you also don't mind just adding the credentials you're hiring for, that could just make it a little bit easier for the candidates as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vahil just to provide some final tips before we get into the breakout. So Dr. Vahil?
Yes, excellent. I know we're a little behind, so I just want to make a few points for everybody. First of all, I want to acknowledge the panel and everyone who was here from the panel. I know Dr. Webb posted something for Manhattan Beach Unified, and if anybody else from the panel wants to post their contact information, feel free to drop it in because I want to let everyone know that you're free to look up different districts. And I think my first point is be adventurous, consider different types of school districts. My second point is consider your geography and widening your geography and considering what schools and school districts you might be interested in. Dual immersion is also an option. I know specifically LAUSD, Lawndale is currently offering dual immersion, and Goethe is a German international school, definitely worth looking at if that's your interest. The other thing is there are some districts and schools where your multiple subject credential allows you to teach in middle school. So don't be afraid of looking at environmental, Green Dot, Bright Star Alliance, LAUSD, where some of the multiple subject credentials will be accepted for coring classes in middle school. And lastly, feel free to join a school if you feel like you've gotten enough information. You know, there are 3 breakout rooms. If you feel like you can move out of a room and jump into another one, don't hop around too much. We definitely want you to commit, but we also understand that there are not enough breakout rooms and enough space. So if you feel like you've got enough information, feel free to get to the places that you need to look out for. So that's it on my end. Enjoy. Please ask the pertinent questions and good luck.
I hope there were lots of wonderful discussions.
Yeah, I certainly learned a lot. I was taking notes. It's just so helpful to hear feedback from different schools just regarding some of the same topics that their panelists talked about. It was just helpful to hear the recruiters or the different representatives go a little bit deeper in those areas. So thank you all. Before we close out, Dr. GR, Dr. Vahil, is there anything that you wanted to mention or share before we close out today?
Go ahead, Dr.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So just on my end, if you haven't completed your resume into that file, please do so. It's going to be a huge help. And then the other thing I would encourage you to do is, if you have folks' information, if you have their emails, reach out, network. This is about really making yourself stand out in a market where there are a lot of potential openings, but there are also a lot of candidates, right? And so I encourage you to reach out, network. You have Dr. Garcia Ramos, you have Dr. Coladas, Dr. Cotton, myself, Dr. Miyake Trapp, Dr. Wong, so many other adjunct professors who are working with you, who are all connected to so many different schools. Use it, and we guarantee you that you will find the position and the fit that's right for you. We definitely encourage you to make note of that. Dr. Garcia Ramos.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Make sure your resume is in that Google Drive. So if it's not there, make sure you put it in there. And then I want to thank everybody for being here this evening. Our candidates, thank you for taking the initiative to be here and share out your experience and what you've been learning. To all of the employers and all of the faculty this evening, thank you so much for making this a wonderful experience for our candidates.
Thank you both so much. And I echo that too. I know this is dinner time for many of you. So the fact that you have taken this time to spend with us, both candidates and also recruiters, we really appreciate that and value this partnership. So what would really be helpful for us is just to hear how this program was for you. This is our first time using this format with these breakouts. So if you could just take a few moments and just let us know. And the survey is on Handshake. I put the link in the chat as well too. That would really be helpful for us as we plan future events. So there's a QR code you can use, and also just you can go directly to the link in the chat. And then I'll just end with this slide about GSEP social media channels. And you can see them listed on here. And we can also put them in the chat for you as well. That this is just a great way to a little bit more passively with the GSEP community. You might see different administrators or teachers who are posting things about education, things that you are passionate about or interested in. And I would just encourage you to follow them, comment, send a message just to connect. That's also a really great way of networking as well too, as well as just staying current on what the conversation is around education. We have such a robust community of educators through GSEP. So this is just one way for you to be able to stay connected or in the know, as well as just to see which alumni are out there doing great work in the community. And then finally, just echoing what Dr. Vihil shared, with when people put their contact information in the chat and say, send me a message or contact me, please do so. That's an open invitation. And it's often one that, is a missed opportunity. So I just, again, want to emphasize how helpful that can be. So. Okay, well, thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. Remember that Career Services is here to support you with resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, job search, networking strategies, interview preparation, or if you are thinking about what else you can do with your teaching degree, we're also happy to help you clarify what your next step is and create a new action plan. So have a wonderful evening. And Dr. Vihil, Dr. Garcia Ramos, and Dr. Cotton, and Dr. Harding, and Adriana, thank you for being such great partners with Career Services. Have a great night.